Hello my friends and welcome to part 195 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Let's Play series. Okay, so let's begin with the news. There's some big news this time. There's this showing off some new cards, a part of the new selection pack, so that's pretty big. This one is basically a searcher for the Salamangreats. But you have to reincarnate summon. You have to use a field spell in order to do it. Since the field spell really only allows you to do that once, I'm not sure how good this would be, like reincarnating that versus reincarnating the Salamangreat, the Link 3 guy. Anyway, the next card is Horus, the Black Flame Deity, and this is not, like, this helps make Horus a little bit better, and Horus pretty good, like, with unaffected by spell effects for the level 6, and I think the level 8 may just, like, negate all of them. I don't know, I don't remember, but I remember it's pretty good. And then Memorial Tekutilika Combined Creation, how you say it. So it's another cool, so Memento, I believe, is a new archetype now, so that just came out, and this is a pretty good one. It has 5,000 attack, 5,000 defense, and I'm not sure how easy or hard it is to summon, but if it's pretty easy enough to summon, like, that can be pretty good. Oh yeah, SP Lil Knight is the big one, though. This one is where when you link summon it using a fusion, synchro, exceed link monster, you're probably going to be doing it with a link monster, since that seems the easiest most of the time. Although it's nice that, like, you can do it with any of those. You get to banish a card on the field or in the graveyard. And then in addition to that, you get to basically banish another monster that your opponent controls. And then you can always target this if you don't want to target any of the other monsters. So it's really good. It can basically get rid of 2 monsters, and if you go into this with the IP, which I'm excited about, like, probably the best way to bring it out, like, because then you can do it on your opponent's turn, then you don't have to worry about your opponent monsters not being able to attack directly. So it's really good, but it's nice that you can basically do it on either player's turn and still get that effect, as long as you use the right material. And you might be thinking, well, isn't it a little tough if you use like a Link 2 IP to go into this? That may be the case, and maybe for my deck, like, sometimes it might be better just going to Unicorn, not only for the draw, since I can co-link it pretty easily, but also the ability to move back row. But if my opponent doesn't play a lot of back row, this one's probably better. I mean, I lose the draw, but I do get 2 banishes. Sure, it's like banishing, so like maybe like in a deck that likes banishing, maybe it's not that great. Like, it may not be as good as shuffle back in, but most of the time, like, a lot of decks don't really like banishing, so that's almost as good. So, not bad right there. Probably definitely worth it crafting 1 card. Some people like to play multiples, but I think you can't go wrong crafting 1 of it, that SP. And this one is basically kind of just a retrain on Future Fusion. Instead of it being allowing you to send a whole bunch of fusion materials and fusion summoning, this one can either get a fusion summon in a little bit harder way, or you can send 1 material that a fusion monster calls for. You're not actually going to fusion, but it does get a monster into the graveyard. So it can still be good, like maybe an extra Foolish Bearer right there for fusion decks. And then I show off a little bit more of the information. If you want to read all of the rest of that, you can feel free to pause if you need extra time. Most of it is just like legalese, mumbo jumbo, stuff like that. Or like maybe descriptions. Oh yeah, and then here's a few secret packs. I don't think I spent as long on these cards. But if you notice, I think this is part of the new update, where you can now press the button that tells you it's L2 for PlayStation. I'm not sure what button is for the other consoles. But like, by doing that, you can like zoom in on the card image, so you get a better look at that. And if anyone wants to see the coolness of that, you can feel free to pause. I do that for every card now. That's something I'm going to start doing now. because I think that's kind of cool. And yeah, you can pause if you want to spend more time, like getting a better look at the picture, at the artwork. Since I know some people really like looking at the artwork of cards. So these are just like cards that you've seen before. So I didn't really spend as much time on these. But yeah, a lot of them are sous ships and recipes. They put them both into a secret pack because it works. They're both food archetypes, so it makes sense for them to be together. Like that. I probably don't care too much about the secret pack myself, though, since I don't really play either one of those. But it's also got the Ready Fusion, like, which can be a pretty good card, just like maybe as a backup, like whatever that other card is that can like easily bring out a fusion. Like if you really need like to bring out one of those kinds of fusions, maybe to go into like Exceed plays. But I don't really play even that myself. Forget what the other one is called though. It's also that pay 1,000 life points. I'm not sure if that's limited or anything. But yeah, and then a few of these are like just more announcements of like cards that like are being added to circuits and secret packs or added to the master pack. Yeah. And as you also see, there has been news that a few of the selection packs are leaving, or maybe they have already left. So, which is the Tistina one, and I think it was the Ignoble Knight one. So both of those. So hopefully no one missed out on that. But I think it's gone by now. And I show off a few protectors, giving you plenty of time to read them. This one shows off one of the monsters from the King Sarcophagus archetype, which is pretty cool. So if you're playing that deck, this shows off one of the monsters from the Moment Totlin. Man, that's such a hard, another hard to pronounce archetype name. Don't you just hate those? I mean, maybe some people can like tell me how like I'm supposed to pronounce them, but hopefully I'm doing a pretty good job. And then there's a King Sarcophagus. This is a pretty cool deck box. And this one is kind of maybe a good one if you just like want to show off like the power. Like this kind of just like shouts out like powerful like or something. Like especially when you're looking at the description, like where it takes 4 different godly powers in order to open this deck box. Of course, I don't believe in all of that, but it's fun, like, just, like, thinking about in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore. As long as you don't really, like, think about it, like, too realistically, like, I think you're fine. Just don't take it too, realistically if you're, like, a Christian. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But anyway, here's some extra news. Oh, yeah, I think these are going over the updates. So, yeah, a few of the updates. I noticed another update was where you could, like, when putting down monster, it like does like an arrow to whichever zone you're putting it down to, which is kind of cool. So I think the two notable features are the fact that you can like press the L2 to bring up the card bigger, and the whole where like when summoning a monster it shows you like which zone it's going towards. Which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, and also there's another update where spectators can now see the coin toss, which, if you're into spectating, it gives you something else to be able to see. So now you see, which can actually be pretty big. That may not seem like very big, but now you can see like, if like a certain player went first because they chose to go first, or if they went first because maybe like or maybe if they went second because they chose to go second or not. Like now you'll know, like, and maybe that will like help you to realize that like, oh, maybe this is a going second deck, or maybe this is a going first deck. It could be helpful for scenarios like that. Oh yeah, and they also went over a few issues that they fixed, which is also like, which I also show again in the issues tab, and also the maintenance, because this was a pretty big update. I mean, the pack didn't come out at first, so I had to wait for the pack news because I knew that was going to be coming soon. That would just make sense, and it did. So I'm glad I waited a little bit before I tacked on the news bit to here. And I know that this video is going to be a bit of a longer one, so I'm sorry for people who like shorter videos. I just didn't want to just do the news, and I wanted to have the news somewhere. I didn't want to make the news its own separate video, and I want to give you guys plenty of time to see all the big stuff, because I feel like this was a pretty big update here. I wanted to make sure that you had time to just see all of it. And also maybe I can spend a little bit of time talking about the cards too, by maybe making it, going through it a little bit more slowly. So that did mean it was longer, but hopefully you don't, a lot of you don't mind. And I also kind of did that with the solo mode too, maybe going through the cards in a little bit more depth. But I felt like since it's a new solo mode gate, I feel like it's probably better to spend a little bit more time going over the cards, since it's also maybe helps with the lore, maybe I don't know how much going over the effect monsters really helps with the lore, but I feel since the main purpose of that solo mode gate was to show off that specific archetype, it'd probably do better to go over the card, spend a little bit more time on the cards. But if there's people who don't really like that, maybe I could try changing up for next time, maybe not spending as much time. But yeah, I also show off these cards. This one is also oh yeah, now this is going into a section pack. So the horse, there's the Code of Soul. And I spent a little bit more time on the cards that I thought would be maybe good for my deck, or maybe the cards I want to talk about a little bit more. So there's a few anyway, there's a few horse cards in here, a few Salamangreat support cards in here. I think there's even a non-Salamangreat Fire Cybers in here that can easily be special summoned. So, and that might be a level 4, so maybe if you need another level 4 for that Salamangreat Exceed, because I remember I don't think there's a Salamangreat level 4s, so you might have to use stuff like that to make up for the lack thereof, if you really want to use that rank 4 in any case. There's that one S-Force card, which I guess could be good since that is level 2, but there's another card that I wanted to focus on a little bit more. That dog, I think, was a Fire Cybers. Could be wrong, but I think that's the reason why they include it, because it's a Fire Cybers level 4 that can be more easily special summoned. And I think the rank 4 Salamangreat, I could be wrong, but I think that you can use any really level 4s for it. Oh yeah, this one I was thinking this one might be pretty good since it's not too hard to special summon. You just need a link monster on the field or in either graveyard. You get to special summon it, so it can be another fairly easy monster to special summon. And also it can be banished when you do the banish with SP, basically, to be able to get rid of extra cards as well. I mean, you return to the hand, but it's pretty good for dealing with X deck monsters. I mean, it's basically just another thing you can use to get rid of monsters. It could be good in my deck since it's a level 2. And then here's a few more Salamangreat support, Valence support. And as you can see, I think it's good that I went over them a little bit slower, because even at the speed I'm moving right now, it's still kind of hard for me to be able to focus on it before moving over. But anyway, this one I wanted to talk about too. Banish all monsters you control, draw 3. If it wasn't for the fact that you it blocked you from any special summons except for Cybers, it could be good in Metaphys, but this, I mean, maybe it's still good because you can technically do stuff with Metaphys on your opponent's turn, but it still kind of sucks that locks you into only special summons of Cybers. So I'm not sure how much play it's gonna see, because I don't think I don't think there's really a Cybers deck that really wants to take advantage of stuff like that either. Maybe it's good in Metaphys though, since I mean the Metaphys monsters want to be banished. But of course, you can't do any special summoning that turn since they're probably not gonna have a bunch of Cyber stuff. And it's definitely not very good in Thunder Dragons, since they definitely want to be special summoning on their turn. There's a few more Salamangreats. There's even a little bit of Thunder Dragon stuff, but I mean, of course, a Thunder Dragon is a rare, so not a big deal to pick it up from here. I mean, probably gonna be opening this pack anyway for the SP, if not just crafting that one. I might just craft the card since there's only 3. And then one of them is a normal. But I might just craft that since it's a normal. I'm not sure how good it is. As you can see, coming up, it's a trap card that allows you to special summon. Each player basically special summoning a level 2 or lower monster from the deck. Might not be very good right now with the whole Snake Eyes. A lot of Snake Eyes players out there, now that I think about it. But, maybe there's a lot of decks that don't play, any level 2 or lower monsters. So, you might be able to, special summon something without... But I'm not sure if it's even worth it. Because, a lot of... maybe, I could play that in my sprites. But, then again... They already have a lot of, I think they're consistent enough, so I'm not sure if I really need all that much. So yeah, I'm just going over the cards for the selection pack. And remember, if it's going too fast for you, you can always pause on a specific card. So I think I'm moving at a good enough speed here. Not too slow, not too fast. I didn't want to try to make it too slow. But I did want to give you a good look at all the cards. I'll go over the verse in a little bit too. But for now, I'll just go over more of these cards here. So I basically spend about half the time on new stuff since it was pretty big today, and I spend the rest of the half of the time on solo mode. So I will put timestamps set because I know it's especially good for these hour-long videos, and hopefully that makes it a little bit better. So if you just want to skip the Mastodon news content and just go straight to solo mode gate, you'll have a timestamp for that, and you'll have separate timestamps for different parts of solo mode gate as well. So hopefully that makes up for my longer videos. I'm gonna try for the most part to not have super long videos, but this time it just happened to be that way since it was a pretty big update here, followed by wanting to spend a little bit extra time talking about the different X-Saber cards, since that's basically the main focus of the gate. I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend as much time talking about other archetype cards, but that happen to be featured in the X-Saber solo mode gate. I guess you can let me know before the next week. I should have another solo mode video next week, so you can let me know if you want me to spend a little bit more time on the archetype cards, or maybe a little bit less time since they're not X-Sabers. I might just spend a little bit less time since they're not X-Sabers, but this time, since they were the main focus, I wanted to spend a little bit extra time. And I think there's even some ignoble support too, as you saw that Fire Warrior card, Fire Warrior equip spell, and of course the ignobles are Fire Warriors. And then that last one was basically Call the Haunted for Fire Monsters, with probably some upsides, but Of course, salamangreats also have other ways of special summoning their monsters from graves, so I'm not sure if they need it all that much. Let me know if you're gonna play the Link 4 Salamangreat. I'm not sure how good that card is or not. Like, you can let me know if you think Salamangrates already have enough searchers already, or if you think it's worth having another Salamangrate searcher. I mean, it's probably worth it to put in the X deck anyway. I'm not sure how tight necessarily the Salamangreat X deck is, so maybe just in case you need another searcher, maybe you could run it, but I'm not sure how often it will get in the way of the Sunlight Wolf, like, to reincarnate. If you, like, want to reincarnate that, reincarnate the Sunlight Wolf. Yeah, I guess, while I'm going through the rest of these cards here, I think I'm gonna do the verse before I get into solo mode. Yeah, it should be fine. So anyway, the verse reads, Jesus Christ is the same, yesterday, today, forever. That's how YouVersion looks at it. That comes from Hebrews 13:8. Well, I think it's basically the same as the English Standard Version, just looking a little bit different. Because that says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So they remove the ands to make it look a little pretty, I guess. Anyway, basically, I think this verse is pretty simplistic right here, because it's basically saying that, like, Jesus Christ will never change, which is good, because he's one of the best foundations. Because while a lot of people on earth like to change their minds and stuff, Jesus doesn't do that. You can basically think, like, when he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. You can trust that, like, he's not going to change his mind on who gets into heaven and who doesn't. He's real strict about stuff like that. Honestly, like, sometimes I don't know, sometimes I honestly worry that, like, hopefully I'm good enough to get into heaven, but, like, I think it's more about, like, as long as you pray the prayer, you should be safe. So I think I need to stop worrying about that so much. I mean, I don't know if it's, like, really affecting my sleep sometimes. I think I really need to stop worrying about that. But, like, I just, like, get so hung up on the fact that, oh yeah, he has the accessories. I just get so hung up on the fact that he says that, like, he likes community, and, like, I'm wondering, so I'm not sure if, like, I appreciate community all that much. But anyway, you can let me know what you think about the verse. But here's the Solomon Gate now. So it reads, how did the small group of adventure... Well, you can always pause and read it. And I guess I didn't give myself time. Maybe if I would have gone saw it right away. But anyway, you get an Earth Orb for completing this, which is pretty cool. But yeah, if you want to read the Solomo Gate details, you can always pause it. I'm sorry I wasn't able to read through all that. I was trying, but it was just a little too fast for me there. I guess I forgot about that part. Maybe I should have given myself a little extra time, but that's okay. It's probably not as big of a deal as, like, other things. And here I'm just showing off the artwork mostly, so I don't spend a lot of time on the cards. A lot of the cards you'll see in that X-Saber deck list, the loner deck list, which I go over after the practice because it's the same for the practice. Yeah, but it doesn't just go over it doesn't just show off X-Saber, does it? Were yeah, there were a few Mist Valley and Flamvels added in because this is basic, because they're all a part of this, like, dual terminal lore kind of thing. And I think there might have been a few worms as well, because, like, basically they're the ones that are fighting against. So it reads, a Sword of Will X-Saber. Invasive creatures called worms have come drifting through space, eating other stars. An alliance of justice called the Ally of Justice was founded to kill them. The four groups at the heart of Allied Justice: Disciple of the Mighty Ice Dragon, the Ice Barrier; Rulers of a Hazy Valley, the Mist Valley; Burning Everything Clad in Flame, the Flamvel; and the former mercenary group, the X-Saber. As the war against the worms progressed, X-Sabers were put in a pinch. Some worms become smarter and instead of attacking in numbers, formed worms that coordinate their attacks. Oh yeah, and also another thing I learned, which they may also talk about here, but the fact that worms can also adapt to, like, grow wings and stuff. Many were wounded by the mobilizing enemy, and many elite fighters, some went right back into battle while with machine prostheses before the wounds even healed. To turn the tide of battle, a new strategy was needed. I know I missed a little part there. I'm sorry about that. X-Saber leader Commander Gotham's Swordmaster was building a new strategy while comparing the past with the now. This is the X-Saber base. The X-Sabers have an altar that imbues their weapons with great power. He is reminded of the owner of a single sword that has been attacking the ground there. The sword belonged to Gotham's, however it once belonged to another individual. Long before the attack of the worms, an age where each of the groups were fearing for power. Oh yeah, I really enjoyed this part, as you'll see coming up. Like you'll see why I enjoyed it. There was a mercenary group, X-Saber, that was found by one man, but I don't want to spoil why. It's cool. The man at the center of it was X-Saber Souza. He cut down many enemies with his two swords. His skill was highly regarded by others. There were many drifters who did not have land or family to protect. They all threw themselves into battle with him to survive the war. Gotham's was one such drifter. Gotham's thought more highly of Souza than anyone else. The strength and charisma to lead the crude and fearless mercenaries. On the other hand, Gotham's also saw Souza's shortcomings. He was wild and ruthless and did not hesitate to sacrifice men for victory. Yeah, see, here we go. Now you see what it really is. Even as groups form for survival, there are times when you must care about the conditions of the soldiers. It turns out to be a picture. That's so awesome. As soon as Gotham's joined the mercenaries, he did his best to display his worth to the group. And it's really cool because they do a lot with this picture here. He became Souza's right-hand man and took on his role of connecting Souza to his men. The aggressive Souza was able to create such a powerful army, not only because of his absolute power, but also due to the tenacity of Gotham's acting as buffer and shaping the organization. The group needed these two things to maintain balance. However, Gotham's contribution to the group leads to its splitting between ones that follow Souza and ones that are loyal to Gotham's. See, and now you see it. Like, it's burning up the picture. There's flames going on, burning up the picture. Gotham's was a loyal second in command to the aggressive Souza. That's a pretty cool transition. Way to transition. More and more people, some have even openly spoke to him to lead the group instead of the reckless leader. There they go again. Sorry about that. What will happen to us if we are divided as a group in the midst of this war? The smaller factions will be eaten alive and soon disappear. However, Goms barely tolerated Souza's temperament. But Souza's powerful spirit and commitment to lead the group into battle was something he admired. The two factions seemed calm on the surface, but the dissent only grew over time. If this were to continue, it would spell disaster. While tensions grew higher within the group, an incident occurred. I guess one of the downfalls of doing post commentary. During a mission, Souza disappeared. Goms and his men looked for him, but found only one of his swords. I can't actually go into the log and read off the bits I missed. The blade was still sharp, and there were no other signs of battle in the area. In other words, he left one of his sword and disappeared without a trace. With no clues to find, Gotham's abandoned the search. Gotham's was faced with another big decision. How can the group survive without Souza, its spiritual pillar? But hopefully that doesn't annoy people too much. I missed a few bits. You can always go back and look through it again and pause if you want to read it yourself to make up for that. Hopefully people aren't too upset about that though. But yeah, my apologies. Learn the ins and outs of X-Saber decks. What makes an X-Saber deck unique? X-Saber cards are notable for their battle-related effects and effects that assist with destroying monsters. With the help of cards like X-Saber Fulcral, quickly prepare monsters that will serve as material and synchro summon mighty monsters like X-Saber Goms. Powerful spells and trap cards like Gotham's Emergency Call and Saber Hole can also help bring victory closer. And you'll be seeing more in depth about what those spells and traps do when I go over the deck. Anyway, use the effects of your X-Saber cards to win the duel during this turn. So I went second in case it wasn't obvious. Summon X-Saber Balgot Knight and activate its effect. And of course with the practice, you're always either going first or always either going second, whichever one they decide is best for the practice. Oh yeah, so the cool thing about that guy, special summon X-Saber Air Balloon from your hand, he allows you to special summon an X-Saber monster from your hand. If you have 2 or more X-Saber monsters on your field, you can special summon X-Saber Fulcral from your hand. Special summon X-Saber Fulcral from your hand. But the downside of that, let's synchro summon X-Saber Souza, is that once you use the effect to do the special summon, you have to only go into X-Sabers from your X deck that turn. So the Balgot Knight may not fare as well if you're playing multiple archetypes. It's still pretty good. Activate the effect of X-Saber Fulcral and special summon X-Saber Air Balloon from your graveyard. Because it still allows you to special summon stuff from not from your X deck then on X-Sabers. And the X-Saber synchros aren't too bad themselves. Especially this level 9 guy, which allows you to just use any 2 Earths. Any 2 or more Earths, it doesn't matter. As long as one of them is a tuner. Through successive synchro summons, you have built up an opposing field. So one of the only synchros that allows you to only use tuners if you wish. So I'm going to battle phase now and I'm attacking with, it says a monster, but I think you have to attack with both in order to get it done. I'm not sure if just attacking with the Goms would have been enough. So I kind of find it funny that it said attack with a monster, but I attacked with both anyway. And I don't really show off the effects as much because they don't really matter too much. I only show off the ones that matter more for the practice because I go over all the effects in more detail. Oh yeah, here's the cool card they get with this. It's basically a counter trap. It kind of reminds me of Divine Wrath, But I think Divine Wrath can basically negate monster effects from more places. But you get to discard a card from your opponent's hand instead of your own with Divine Wrath. So I guess if you're into that, maybe it's pretty cool. And it can go into more than just X-Sabers, since it's just them activating a monster effect. And it doesn't say that you need an X-Saber monster on the field in order to use it. So it's kind of cool there, but I'm not sure how good it is. But it's nice that they give you 3 of a super in case you want to try it out. I'm just not sure how good this card is. So, spend a little bit of time on that. Probably not gonna try not to go through the effects too hard. Maybe since I don't really need to go through the effects, just maybe paraphrase. Maybe I don't need to spend as much time. So maybe I could try to spend a little less time on the cards. Since I can basically paraphrase. Oh yeah, the dual description means many X-Saber monsters boast battle-related effects and specialize in linking with other allies. Prepare with X-Saber, Bogot Knight, and Fultrol to special summon high-level Sinker monsters. We recommend the high attack of Gothams and its effect that discards cards from the opponent's hand. It can also sync summon and exceed summon various other monsters. So use of this ability to press the attack. I think that was a little bit of a typo. The deck description of this deck reads, many X-Saber cards. Oh, was that the same as the description? I think so. Well, a lot of it is the same. Exhaust the opponent, then strike the killing blow. I think that's the only difference. Anyway, the Anu Piranha. So this gives you a little bit of lore, I feel. So I always like to read descriptions. A female X-Saber warrior known for her graceful attacks and calm decision-making in battle. Her ambition is merciless and strikes fear in the hearts of enemies. Besides that, it's just like a level 4 warrior that can help you with your rank 4 plays. It is a nice attribute, nice typing that can make it searchable by reinforcement. But strangely enough, they didn't include a reinforcement for this one. Even though it would have been really good, since a lot of the monsters wouldn't have been able to fulfill that role. But I guess there's other ways to search, so maybe it's not too big of a deal. I mean, the Dark Soul can basically help with searching from your deck. As you can see. And then here's the next card, Axel. While you control this face-up card, when the same monster is destroyed by battle and sent to a graveyard, you get to draw a card. So pretty nice for helping to refill your hand a little bit. And it's not once per turn, so maybe, like, if you really need it, you could force your monsters to be destroyed by battle. But I think most of the time, it's just incidental. Although the downside is it's pretty weak itself. And then this one kind of has the same downside. You get to, like, special summon it from the graveyard. Wait, I think you get to keep doing this. So technically, you could, like, do, like, kind of a loop. Ooh, loop potential, I think, with the other guy. Since I don't think that's a once per turn. Although you would need a lot of life points in order to be able to loop it. When this card is known as special summon, you can add one X-Saber monster from graveyard to your hand. Probably one of the better monsters, because like it's not a once per turn. So really good, like especially like normal summon, then bring it out again with Fultrol later on. And then Paschal. This is basically the older ones that kind of reminds me of that Destiny of Defender, with kind of a negative. Although I think taking 1,000 damage is a little bit better than your opponent drawing a card. And I think the reason they do that is because it belongs to an archetype, so they felt the need to give it a downside. Nowadays, I'm not sure how big of a deal that would have been, but back in the day, they thought it mattered. Anyway, Emblem can be pretty good since it can discard cards from your opponent's hand, which is a pretty nifty effect. That was the whole reason why people liked other cards that can also do that. Discarding cards can always be good, it's, like even nowadays. And then Full Elm Knight is pretty cool. It can negate attacks. And it can like special summon X-Saber monsters from your graveyard. And we do have a Book of Moon here, so that can help support the Full Helm Knight. Since it has to destroy a defense position monster specifically. Of course, once again, downside is it doesn't have a ton of attacks, so it might be kind of hard to trigger the whole destroy ability. But hey, if you can't, it's a level 3 tuner, so that's not too bad. And it's a good one. Like, we also have Rescue Cat, so this is like a good summon along with the non-tuner guy. That's also level 3, I think the Dark Soul. So you can immediately go into like I think you might be able to special summon with Rescue Cat. Maybe not. But oh wait, no, I think it's the Air Balloon and the Dark Soul are both pretty good in order to go into synchro play. And it doesn't matter that the Dark Soul's effect is negated, because like it just, when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to do search. This one, Emma's Blade, allows you to special summon a monster from your deck whenever it's destroyed a battle, so it kind of reminds me of Mother Grizzly and stuff like that. You can even special summon a copy of itself, and we only have one, so we can't do that for this deck. This one, it's pretty cool. Like, if you like send more than one to the graveyard, you get to do multiple searches, which is really nice. Kind of better than a few of those TG cards, since this one simply needs to be sent from the field to the graveyard. And Rescue Cat is a good way of getting it out from the deck, along with the level 3 tuner, to go into a single play and be able to proc the Dark Soul effect during the end phase. Because once again, doesn't matter if they're negated, it's negated because it's just the graveyard effect, and it doesn't negate the graveyard effect, it just negates the field effect, where Dark Soul doesn't really matter much for its on-field effect, and the tuner won't really matter either if you're just using it for a single play right away. And Rescue Cat's a good one to be special summoned off of Summon Monk here, like simply by pitching a spell. That's probably the one you're pretty much wanting to summon every single time when you're playing this deck. That was probably the intentions, because then it helps you get to your searcher, like your end phase searcher, easily. And maybe if you just want to get out 2 Dark Souls, you can maybe always like rank them for your rank 3. I think you should be able to do that. Anyway, Uruz allows you to, I guess, like return a destroyed monster on top of its deck. Although you do have to tribute it, so I'm not sure how often that effect will really come up, because I'm not sure if I would really want to do that just to return it. Although I guess it's kind of nice, because then they have to draw that monster, and the top decking maybe really sucks for them. And then Galahad allows you to, it gains extra attack, and then before it gets into the negative effect, you can always just use it as a sync material, so you don't have to worry about like the losing attack during the opponent's turn while it's being attacked. And then the next card here is coming up in just a little bit. Oh yeah, I mean, if it is attacked, you can always tribute a Saber monster to negate it, which is kind of a little bit better than the 6 Samurai's way of protecting themselves, since it just straight up negates the attack. But still, think rather just synchro summon first with it before I have to worry about the negative. And then Gotham, the thing that kind of sucks about this one, has to be specifically destroyed by a card effect, so it's not, I don't think, as good as Dark Soul. You'd probably just rather play Dark Soul, but it does gain a little bit extra attack. Oh yeah, Bogart Knight is probably a really good one. Even if you're running a lot of different archetypes, it's probably still worth playing. I mean, I get maybe just at least one of, like, I mean, you don't get to go into other sync monsters, which really sucks. Or at least it's only this one. So like, first you could go into an X-Saber synchro, and maybe you can go into like other synchros, not with that. So it doesn't restrict you totally as I thought. It just restricted that card. And then this one, you get special summon from your hand, although not as good as Fultral. Not, I feel, but it's a good one of, since maybe it can come up. You do have to have an empty field though. Swordmaster I don't think is very good though, because like you have the field spell, which can already give a lot of attack and defense, and that has to be tributed. Yeah, this can't even special some of the higher level monsters, so yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard. But I really like Fultril though. I think Fultril is probably a good at least 2 of, because if you have multiples, they don't get in the way. You can just use the effect, use both of their effects. Or if you can somehow bring the same one out again, you can use the effect once again, because it's only a soft once per turn, which is really nice. And when you can bring one out, you'll be able to bring out the other one as well. Although, yeah, maybe just 2, because it might be a brick if you run too many. And then Hoppy's Feather Duster. Of course, that's just a simple back row removal. Saber Slash, this is more for the monsters, I feel, although it can also get rid of, like, face-up spells and traps. So if like, any continuous field spells, it does have to be up to a number of attack versus X-Saber, so I don't know how good you would really want that, because you kind of have to commit a board and then use it. Gom's Second Call. This is kind of nice. This kind of reminds me of a harder to activate emergency call, but it is a spell, so you do get to use it earlier to extend your plays and go into even more synchro summons. The one downside is that you don't get to conduct your battle phase. Not as powerful as Soul Charge, but it's kind of like just a mini Soul Charge. And this can be a way of getting out the Dark Soul again to be able to proc its effect again. If it's on, as long as it's a different turn from when it was like sent to the graveyard at first. The cool thing about Dark Soul is if it's like banished before the end phase, it will still be able to get off its effect, because it just like had to have hit the graveyard once. Sword of Sparkles, equip only to an X-Saber monster. If it destroys something by battle, you get to destroy a card your opponent controls, so it can take out multiple cards, and you can even recur it, so that's not bad. It's a recurable resource too. I don't know. Does it give extra attack? I wasn't exactly seeing that. Yeah, Saber Vault. You do gotta worry about this if you're running a mirror, like as you see here, because it does affect all X-Sabers and not just your own. And then Book of Moon is, once again, it's just a good tech card in general. But it's especially good with Full Helm Knight, since it allows you to be able to make sure the monster's defense position, so hopefully you can take it out. And then Saber Reflection. This is somewhat specific protection, but it should be easy enough to activate, so you can get the really good effect off of it. The one you're looking for is probably the searching of a spell or trap or a Gom's card, since the Dark Soul can search for monsters, and then this one can search for the spells or traps, which is really nice. Since you do have a few good ones, and then it's hard once per turn, but this deck's only playing one anyway, so I'm not sure if you would want to play like multiples of that, but it's not too hard to activate. And then Gom's Emergency Call only requires a X-Saber, so it's much easier to activate. And the cool thing is, if you're playing against X-Sabers, or if your opponent's happening to be on at least one X-Saber, you get to do it also. You get to special summon 2 that way as well. So that's really cool. And I guess another cool thing is that you can like bring them out during your opponent's turn as well. And then this one is another equip. I mean, the cool stuff about this is like you can activate in response to damage calculation or something, since this is one of those cards that gives attack, and those ones you get to activate while the attack has already been declared. So like that can be an easy way to proc its effect at least once for basically a free draw and destroy an opponent's monster. And then this one negates stuff, but I mean, maybe just play the Psalms instead, since they're easier to activate. I like to say that a lot, since they're just so much easier to activate. Omnium can be another equip card. it can also unequip itself too for the special summon, so it can protect itself, which can be pretty nice. And then also you get to inflict a little bit extra damage, which can come in handy. And then the next one is coming up here in just a little bit. Maybe I spent a little too much time on this one. Anyway, it's coming up in a little bit. Maybe I could have made this one a little bit shorter. Spent a little bit less time on that one. And then this one's also pretty, you probably saw this before because it was also in the Ally of Justice solo mode. Yeah, it's just a simple, like, non-dark. When it attacks into a non-dark, it just destroys it, which is really nice. The one downside is you don't get to inflict battle damage. And then X-Saber Wayne gets you another special summon of a warrior, so that can maybe be a good one to go into off of the Bogot Knight, maybe. Go-Yo Guardian is pretty nice since all of your tuners are Earth, so this is one of those the few decks that can still go into this even after it's errata. And he's a pretty useful monster when you can go into him, stealing monsters from your opponent's graveyard. This one's pretty nice too. You get to destroy like up to 3 back row cards. So if there's like less than 3, you can like, or if you only have back row yourself and your opponent has none, you can only just pick 0. So you don't have to worry about accidentally destroying your own. And then Herbalum allows you to, this is kind of another one that allows you to like get rid of cards in your opponent's hand. One of the nice things about the X-Sabers is that they can kind of mess with your opponent's hand a little bit, in which I'm not sure if like that's what people use them for mainly, but it can be nice. Oh yeah, Dark Strike Fighter too. Even with this errata, like maybe that little bit of damage is what you need in order to finish off your opponent. And then Souza was in that practice duel, but you're seeing him a little bit more here now. He simply allows you to tribute an X-Saber monster, not once per turn by the way, to allow it to destroy a monster, or I forget what, I'm not sure what the other effect was, but anyway, Stardust Dragon can protect your cards from being destroyed by like tributing itself, and then it comes back, which you're probably getting to come back since you're not really using any way to cheat out. And then Red Dragon Archfiend can destroy a whole bunch of defense position monsters. But it does have the downside when any of your monsters that haven't declared an attack will get destroyed themselves. The Mist Worm can return stuff up to 3 cards. I think it can be monsters or back row. And then, oh yeah, Goms is really nice because non-once per turn you get to like discard a whole bunch of cards that can be useful like to make your opponent on an empty hand when he had a really big board. And then X-Saber Invoker calls for just simply 3 monsters and allows you to special summon Earth Warrior, Beast Warrior monster from your deck in defense position. So if you really want to bring out 2 Dark Souls, just remember that you can really only like, I mean, unless you like then like get rid of the X-Saber Invoker, like that's a way to be able to bring out 2 Dark Souls and still be able to do something with them. I guess I'll look at that Souza. What was that other effect I missed? His other effect was that you get to tribute him either for that destroying monster effect. Oh yeah, or it can't be destroyed by trap effects, which I'm not sure if that's as useful because the opponent's not really on as many. I mean, I guess that's a good way if in case you're worried about maybe a torrential and they didn't actually activate on that summon since it's not a quick effect. I guess it can be useful still. But you're probably mostly using it for the first effect if you want to do the tribute, since destroying a monster can be really good for getting over like big monsters, since I believe it's before it will get destroyed itself. Yeah. So while I'm going over the Duel here, I can go over the Goosebumps. So the Goosebumps this time was Ghost Beach. And I'm going to go over there was no Disney Plus adaptation, so I'm only going over the book and the little TV show episode adaptation. So so for Ghost Beach, the book, I really enjoyed the part where they said about how they the cousin the adults they were with made them oatmeal and they put butter on it. I wasn't even thinking about that, like putting butter on oatmeal. So I'm kind of doing that. I think with a slightly different spread that's kind of like butter, maybe like margarine or something. But it's actually pretty good. So if anyone hasn't tried that, maybe you should try it, because it's not bad. It's actually not bad. I didn't even think about doing that. Yeah, see, and so this part, I basically just get rid of my opponent's entire hand. I decided I might as well, but first I'm going to attack. But anyway, I thought that was a good idea, since that would lead them into top decking. And since I had still one monster myself, maybe it was worth it. Although, of course, this may not be very smart outside of solo mode to do, because the opponent might still have, graveyard effects that you may be proccing. So that's the one downside. Anyway, so for the Ghost Beach, so I don't know which one I liked more. I thought, I kind of pictured him in the right way this time. I felt they did a good job, portraying the, that kind of quote-unquote guy that they thought was a ghost. They make him look too young looking or old looking, and they kind of made him look shy, which made sense since he was living in a cave. So I think they did a good job portraying him. But so yeah, I thought that was pretty good. But I don't know which one I liked more or less. I think the ending was a little bit better for the book, because I feel like in the TV show they kind of the adults kind of gave up their their identities a little too easily. I feel like they could have made, I'm not sure if it was so obvious them at that moment. But anyway, so I think the book was more obvious that that the kids knew, figured it out before the parents gave up their secret. So I thought the book was a little bit better for the ending. But I mean, I felt they were both pretty good. They both did a pretty good job with the story as a whole. So I thought that was pretty good. So anyway, there's the Duel. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, you can use my affiliate link if you would like to help support this channel directly. Please like, share, and subscribe, and consider ringing that notification bell if you would like to be notified about certain stuff. You can do personalized or all. Anyway, bye everyone. Next week will be another X-Saber solo mode battles. More of those. Maybe the second part, maybe the final part, and hopefully a little bit shorter. Bye everyone. More loner duels, by the way.